Every morning begins quietly, not with pressure, not with fear, but with a simple choice: the choice to begin again. In a small room filled with soft light, a learner sits by the window. Outside, the world moves fast. Cars pass, people talk. Life continues. But inside this room, something gentle is happening, something powerful. English is not being forced, it is being welcomed. The learner does not open a thick grammar book. There is no rush to memorize difficult rules. Instead, the day begins with a ritual, a daily ritual that slowly unlocks the language, not through struggle, but through consistency. The first ritual is listening. Every morning, before checking messages or scrolling through the phone, the learner listens to English. Not loud, not complicated, just a calm voice, a short story, a conversation, sometimes even a single paragraph. The purpose is not to understand every word. The purpose is to let the sound of English enter the mind naturally. The rhythm, the pauses, the emotion. Just like a child listens before speaking. At first, the words feel unfamiliar. Some pass without meaning. Some stay. Some return again and again. And slowly, the brain begins to recognize patterns. This is not magic. This is exposure. After listening, the learner repeats one sentence. Just one, not perfectly, just clearly enough. The voice may feel strange. The pronunciation may not be smooth. But that does not matter. What matters is the habit. 5 minutes every day. No pressure, no judgment, only progress. The second ritual begins with reading. Not long articles, not complex novels, just short, meaningful text. A paragraph, a dialogue, a simple story. The learner reads slowly, out loud if possible. Each word is given time. If a word is unknown, it is not ignored, but it is also not feared. The learner guesses the meaning from context first. Only later, if needed, a quick check. This builds confidence, because English is no longer something to be translated word by word. It becomes something to be felt. The learner notices something interesting. Words seen in reading start appearing in listening. Words heard in listening start appearing in speaking. The language begins to connect itself. The third ritual is speaking, but gently. There is no audience, no fear of mistakes. The learner talks to themselves about the day, about feelings, about simple thoughts. I am making tea. I feel calm today. I want to improve my English. These sentences may sound basic, but they are powerful because language grows from simple roots. Each day, the sentences become slightly longer, slightly smoother, slightly more confident. Mistakes still happen, but now mistakes are not enemies. They are signs of movement. The fourth ritual happens in silence, reflection. At night, before sleep, the learner thinks in English for a few moments. No writing, no speaking, just thinking. Replaying words heard during the day. Remembering sentences spoken. Noticing improvement, even if it is small. This quiet reflection strengthens memory. The brain organizes the language while resting. Learning continues even in sleep. Days pass. Weeks pass. Something begins to change. English no longer feels heavy. It no longer feels distant. It becomes familiar. The learner starts understanding without translating. A sentence makes sense instantly. A phrase feels natural. This is a quiet victory. No one claps, no certificate appears, but inside, confidence grows. The learner realizes something important. English is not learned in one day, it is built daily through rituals, small actions repeated consistently. Some days feel easy, some days feel slow, but the ritual continues. On difficult days, the learner does less than more. Even one sentence is enough. Even 1 minute matters. Because stopping completely is the only real failure. The learner also begins to notice English in the world, on signs, in songs, in movies, in conversations. The language is everywhere now, not as a challenge, but as an invitation. Instead of asking, why is English so hard, the learner now asks, how can I enjoy English today? Enjoyment becomes the fuel. Curiosity replaces fear. And with curiosity comes growth. The learner stops comparing themselves to others. Everyone has a different pace, a different journey, a different starting point. What matters is direction. Forward. Sometimes the learner remembers the past, the frustration, the confusion, the feeling of being stuck, and then looks at the present. Clearer thoughts, better understanding, more confidence. Not perfect, but progressing. English is no longer a subject, it is a companion. A language that slowly opens doors to knowledge, to connection, to self-expression. The learner understands that fluency is not a destination. It is a process, a daily relationship with the language. Some days the relationship feels strong, some days it feels quiet. Both are normal. The ritual remains: listening, reading, speaking, reflecting, again and again, without stress, without fear, just patience, just presence. As the days continue, the learner begins to notice something subtle yet powerful. English no longer feels like a separate task. It blends into daily life. While brushing teeth in the morning, simple thoughts appear in English. While walking down the street, familiar words repeat quietly in the mind. While waiting for tea to boil, short sentences form naturally. No effort is forced. This is the result of repetition without pressure. The learner understands now that English is not something to chase, it is something to allow. One afternoon, while listening to a short English story, something unexpected happens. The learner understands the meaning before realizing it. There is no translation, no mental struggle, just understanding. The voice continues speaking, and the learner follows along, calm and focused. Even when a word is unknown, the message remains clear. This moment feels different. It feels like progress. Not loud progress, not dramatic progress, but real progress. The learner smiles quietly. Later that day, the learner decides to try a new ritual: writing. Not long essays, not perfect sentences, just thoughts. A few lines in a notebook. Today I listened to a story in English. I understood more than yesterday. I feel relaxed when I learn this way. The handwriting is slow. Some words are crossed out. Some sentences feel incomplete. And that is okay. Because writing is not about perfection. It is about clarity. Writing helps the learner see their own growth. The words on the page become proof. Proof that English is slowly becoming part of the mind. In the evening, the learner watches a short video in English. No subtitles at first, just listening, just observing. Facial expressions help, tone helps, context helps. The learner does not panic when something is missed. Instead, there is curiosity. What did that mean? Why did they say it that way? Learning becomes a conversation, not a battle. The learner begins to understand that mistakes are not signs of weakness. They are signs of courage. Every mistake means the learner tried, and trying is everything. Sometimes the learner remembers how English once felt overwhelming. Long lists of vocabulary, confusing grammar rules, fear of speaking. That fear slowly fades, not because the learner knows everything now, but because the learner trusts the process. Trust replaces anxiety. The rituals remain simple: listening every day, reading small texts, speaking gently, writing honestly, reflecting quietly. No ritual is skipped completely. Even on busy days, something is done. 1 minute, 1 sentence, 1 word. Consistency matters more than intensity. The learner also becomes more selective, no longer jumping from one method to another, no longer searching for shortcuts. There is peace in routine. The learner realizes something important. English does not improve when the mind is stressed. It improves when the mind is calm. So the learner slows down, listens deeply, speaks softly, learns patiently. With time, the learner's confidence grows in unexpected ways, understanding jokes, catching emotions in voices, recognizing phrases without thinking. English begins to feel human, not mechanical. The learner also notices that motivation now comes from inside, not from exams, not from pressure, not from comparison, but from enjoyment. Learning feels personal. The learner is not learning English to impress anyone. The learner is learning to express themselves. That realization changes everything. English becomes a bridge to ideas, a bridge to stories, a bridge to the world. Some evenings, the learner listens to English stories before sleep. The voice is calm, the words flow gently. The mind relaxes. English becomes part of rest, not stress. Dreams sometimes include English words now. Simple words, familiar phrases. The language is settling in. The learner understands that this journey has no fixed timeline, no finish line, only daily movement. Some days feel slow, other days feel light. Over time, something deeper begins to shift inside the learner. It is not just understanding anymore, it is comfort. English no longer feels like a visitor, it starts to feel like a quiet presence that belongs. The learner notices this change during simple moments. While listening to a conversation, there is no tension in the body. While reading a paragraph, the eyes move smoothly. While speaking, the voice feels steadier. There is less hesitation, less self-correction, more flow. The learner realizes that confidence did not arrive suddenly, it was built silently, through days of repetition, through patience, through trust. The inner voice begins to change. Before, the inner voice said, "I will make mistakes. I am not good at English. This is too difficult." Now, the inner voice sounds different. "I am improving. I understand more than before. I can express this in my own way." This inner voice becomes the learner's strongest support. It speaks in English sometimes, not perfectly, but honestly. When the learner does not know a word, there is no panic. The mind pauses calmly. It finds another way to express the idea, and that is real communication. The learner understands something important. Fluency is not about knowing every word. It is about staying calm when you don't. This realization removes a heavy weight. English becomes lighter, more flexible, more forgiving. The learner begins to enjoy silence too. There is no rush to fill every moment with speech. Listening becomes deeper. Understanding becomes richer. Sometimes the learner listens to the same audio again, not because it is difficult, but because it feels familiar, comforting, like hearing a familiar story. Repetition no longer feels boring, it feels reassuring. The learner also starts to notice emotions in English, not just meaning. Sadness in a voice, warmth in a phrase, excitement in a sentence. English becomes emotional, human, alive. The learner realizes that language is not just information, it is connection, connection to people, connection to ideas, connection to self. During speaking practice, the learner no longer tries to sound perfect. The goal is not to impress, the goal is to express. Some sentences come out simple, some come out broken, but they come out, and that matters. The learner feels proud, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. Proud of showing up every day, proud of not quitting, proud of choosing consistency over intensity. There are still moments of doubt. That is natural. But now, doubt does not stop progress. It simply passes through. The rituals act like anchors. No matter how the day feels, the learner returns to them, listening, reading, speaking, writing, reflecting. These rituals ground the learner. They create stability, and from stability, growth continues. The learner also learns to be kind to themselves. There is no punishment for slow days. There is no guilt for small efforts. Every step counts, even the smallest one. English learning becomes part of self-care, a quiet moment in a busy day, a quiet achievement that belongs only to the learner. Sometimes the learner imagines the future, speaking comfortably, understanding naturally, communicating freely. But there is no rush to arrive there, because the present feels meaningful too. The journey itself has value. English is no longer a goal. It is a process happening every day. The learner trusts that the language will continue to unfold at its own pace, in its own time. With time, the learner reaches a place that once felt very far away, not a finish line, but a feeling of ease. English no longer asks for permission to exist in the mind. It flows naturally, like a familiar path walked many times before. The learner notices this during an ordinary moment. A thought appears, fully in English, no translation, no preparation, just a clear thought. And the learner pauses, realizing what has changed. English is no longer something being learned, it is something being lived. Conversations feel lighter now. The learner listens without tension, responds without fear, and speaks without constantly searching for the perfect word. Sometimes the sentences are simple, sometimes they are imperfect, but they are real, and they are enough. The learner understands now that fluency is not about sounding like someone else. It is about sounding like yourself in another language. English has become a tool, not a test, a way to share ideas, a way to understand others, a way to explore the world. The daily rituals are still there: listening in the morning, reading calmly, speaking gently, reflecting quietly. But they no longer feel like effort. They feel like routine, like brushing teeth, like breathing, like thinking. The learner realizes something deeply important. The secret was never talent. It was never speed. It was never perfection. It was presence. Showing up every day, even when motivation was low, even when progress felt slow. Those small, consistent moments built everything. The learner remembers the beginning, the uncertainty, the hesitation, the fear of mistakes. And now, standing in this calm confidence, the learner feels gratitude, not just for learning English, but for learning patience, for learning discipline, for learning trust. English became a mirror, reflecting growth not only in language, but in mindset. The learner no longer asks, "Can I speak English well?" That question has faded. Now the learner simply speaks, naturally, calmly, freely. And in this freedom, English finds its true place, not as a challenge to overcome, but as a companion on the journey, a language unlocked not by force, but by daily rituals, effortless, gentle, sustainable. And as the learner continues forward, not chasing fluency anymore, but living it, English remains there quietly present, supporting every thought, every word, and every expression, exactly as it was always meant to be.